Hey everybody, it's the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, and you are watching the weekly Wringer series here on clanofthegraywolf.com. You're actually joining me right now from the Hurricane Irene Tracking Center here at Clan of the Grey Wolf, where I'll give you the latest update. Let me just take a little gander. Hurricane's gone. Sun's out, sun's shining. Looks like minimal damage and everything is going great. So that's your latest Clan of the Grey Wolf Hurricane Irene update. I hope that was enjoyable for you. As you can tell, I am back in my own digs as promised from vacation last week. Although I can't say I'm thrilled to be back from vacation necessarily, I am glad to be in the regular confines of my own home to be shooting the weekly Wringer. Glad, though, that the new Clan of the Grey Wolf flip video camera did so wonderfully well for the Wringer last week. A few of you actually mentioned, I think, the quality and the difference in the video in terms of lighting and shooting. I actually like the idea of using that a little bit more frequently. I was very happy with really every part of that production. I didn't have a whole lot of time to be editing and things like that, but the audio was very good, and I really can't complain. So the big proof of concept for me was to show that I could actually still shoot the Wringer, with fairly minimal kinds of interruption mobily. So if I wanted to go somewhere else for a weekend, I'm not limited to shooting with a laptop webcam or having to try to find a way to bring the camera that I normally shoot the Wringer with. I can actually bring the Clan of the Grey Wolf flip video camera with me to be able to accomplish that task, and it looked like everything worked very well. So, on the normal week-to-week, I don't think I'm going to implement it just yet. That doesn't mean I won't implement it. I just need to be able to get framing right, all those kinds of things for regular home use, and as you can imagine, that does take a little bit more strain. So, we try to keep things simple, try to keep things easy here in the weekly Wringer. That's the whole reason why it's here, and that's really the excuse that I made to start the series in the first place, was to avoid doing the crazy editing that Rue does for all of his videos, which I just, quite frankly, don't have time to do. So, all right, so we've got a lot going on this week. So many new people to welcome, which I'm going to do in just a moment, and I can't wait to welcome a lot of new folks. It always means, I think, that we picked a good topic and that we're talking about pertinent issues. When we have such an influx of folks from, that might have been on the website before and never commented and looking to comment, or folks that just stumbled upon the website and saw the very first weekly Wringer. Great to have you all on board. I'm going to welcome you in just a second, but just to tell you what we're going to go through today, I'm going to go through the question from last week about the price drop, comparison, if you will, with the 3DS and the HP touchpad, two very big pieces of technology news from last week. And I'm going to go through a lot of the contributions that we had from the community, which I thought were worth highlighting. Kind of talk about that a little bit, get into some of my own thoughts, as I always do, and which price drop that I actually prefer from the question. And once we flesh through that a little bit, I want to get to the biggest news in technology for this week. I'm really anxious to ask you a question about this, and any of you that have been following technology news this week already know what I'm talking about. But that's why it's a teaser. That's why it's at the front of the video. All right, so let's see here. The question I asked last week: which price drop was going to excite you more, the 3DS or the HP touchpad? I had no kind of thought about which way this was going to go, although I thought the 3DS would probably make a bigger splash, because at the heart of things, I tend to think of the Clan of the Grey Wolf more as a video gaming website. So I felt like, even though I ask a lot of questions about gadgetry and about technology and about tech world, because those are some of the things I'm very passionate about, I completely understand that mostly we have video game fans as our fan base here at Clan of the Grey Wolf. Most of you are probably video game fans, so I thought the 3DS would probably get an edge. At my last count, before I went to go shoot the video, it looks like the votes, as I can count them, are 11 to 6 in favor of the 3DS, so the 3DS won, but not by a tremendously substantial margin. It's not like everybody came out, and many of you that talked about the 3DS gave your opinion on the HP touchpad as well, which I thought was a great thing. So I kind of understand exactly where everybody is sitting on that. And you know, there were a lot of folks, I think, that didn't really care, weren't really moved either way. Maybe weren't excited about the 3DS, weren't excited about the HP touchpad, and we're looking maybe for something else. Or maybe next Wringer would talk about video games and they could plug in with that. But in any case, people actually commented, said, look, I don't really care. Neither of these are really exciting to me, and I think that's equally just as good an answer. Because I think it's completely feasible that you do not really care about a mobile gaming platform, and you do not really care about a tablet platform. Maybe that's just not where your head is at the moment, where you're going to spend your technology money. Completely and totally understand that. Maybe you're saving up for an HD TV, in which case buying a 3DS or buying a touchpad are not going to be great and sound investments. So whether you're saving up or not, or whether you could even care about these things for any other reason I might have mentioned, or otherwise, I understand those of you out there that didn't care a lick about either one of these things. You certainly didn't hurt my feelings. Glad you were still commenting and producing for our comment count, which I always like to see get up there. And by the way, I wanted to make this comment too. You know, Estolia made a comment that her comments were actually part of some of the flame wars that got us over a certain 2-page comment threshold. Fair enough. Maybe I don't know. I guess you can keep the self-nominated category of what was it, greatest shit disturber or something like that. If you want to keep that, I am perfectly willing to make the anointing thereof to declare it and decree it. This is my video series. I will decree that until someone else comes and takes the hat away. That being said, one thing I want to say is I am really happy and thankful. We'll get back to the HP thing and the 3DS in just a second. I'm very happy that all the contributions that we get, almost every single one of them, are productive and push a very good, productive agenda for the Weekly Wringer. We don't have a lot of flame wars going on. There's not a lot of people just saying crap to throw it out there. And I really appreciate that, guys. That's what keeps me happy, and that's what makes this, I think, such a great community and a great forum to post ideas about. It's not just people coming out and going, well, yeah, but that's stupid. Oh, okay, thanks, but where's your opinion? And I have to say, Estolia included, even as the great shit disturber of the Weekly Wringer, it's still very productive conversation, and I want to thank all of you for that. Now, before we even get going on the rest of the 3DS and HP touchpad debate, I want to welcome our new folks, because there's so many of them that I want to use this at the beginning of our video. Sometimes I throw it in at the end. Sometimes I do it. It just depends. It's free form. You guys understand that now. I don't need to explain that anymore. So here's what I'm going to say. Here's all of our new folks in no particular order, except I think that they go in the order that I read them on the website. So if you've commented first, you're going to go first. Nomog, welcome. Jason the Nerd, I think Jason had commented before. I missed him last week. I apologize for that. Welcome, welcome. The Llama. Now, I'm sure that this is not the case, because I'm sure many people are known by that name. But I followed a website out of Minnesota many years ago about the original Xbox and hacking the original Xbox, and it was done by someone called The Llama. It was like The Llama's adventures in the old Xbox. If this were the same Llama, I would be truly privileged to have you a part of my community. If not, no problem. I'm still truly privileged to have you. Knight, R-Y-N, I'm going to say that that's Knight Rin, but it could be Knight Ryan. Maybe left out an A. I don't know. Could be the name. And then Son of Wisei? W-I-S-E-I-I? I don't know. That could be anything. I'm just taking a wild stab at that one. Or it could be Son of Wise 2. That's what I thought when I first looked at it, but then it had it broken out in the picture. Welcome, welcome. We have Aerospike, and I have to say, and this is just, I love all of the contributions to the website, but Aerospike, I want to say a particular great welcome, because it's just a tremendously insightful contribution this week. One of the best articulated points I might have ever seen on the site, and I really do appreciate that level of criticism going up there. I think it was really tremendous. Welcome to everyone, but a special welcome to Aerospike. I'm going to mention something that they talked about in just a moment. Jason Tyo, is that it? T-Y-O? Yes, Jason T-Y-O. Welcome to you. Maybe it's just Jason T, yo. I mean, maybe it's Jason T, yo. I mean, maybe that's it. I don't know. Just making my best stab at this, guys. And Max Win AP. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining us here in the Weekly Ringer. For many of you, it was the first comment, although you've been watching for a long time. For some of you, maybe it's the first Ringer that you've run into. In any case, thank you and welcome to the community. I hope to see many of you contributing more as we keep going through our series. So now let's get back into the 3DS and HP touchpad debate. I want to talk about some of the contributions from the community. First thing is Chaindog 2003 mentioned a few things I wanted to talk about. One, that the HP touchpad has clearly the more significant price drop. We're talking hundreds of dollars. That, that in and of itself is absolutely true. It's one of the reasons why I put it on there this week. Because it is a tremendous, it's not just that we went from half price, which I think is news. This is clearly a fire sale on HP touchpads. That means that it went to next to no cost compared to what they were charging for it. I mean, a $500 touchpad going to $99 is tremendous, and I think we can all see that. That being said, I think the second point brought up by Chaindog was that it's a more useful from a practical standpoint to have the HP touchpad. Does that mean you're going to do practical things with the HP touchpad? Not necessarily. In fact, what you might do is just play games with it, in which case the 3DS is probably not less useful from a practical standpoint. The 3DS is certainly a productive time waster, in which case, if you use your touchpad for that reason, then I think you could probably make the argument that it is no less a useful and practical device. Maybe you play your portable video gaming device to do something like relieve stress after a hard day. If you do something like that, then maybe it's more useful. I don't know. I'm clearly grasping at straws here, but I have to say that I think it was a good point that the HP touchpad, having the price dropped significantly, is also more useful from a practical standpoint. You could use it to do something like your work, for example, or you could use it, although I know, and the point was made very much, that having an iPad or having a portable touchpad does not always instantly equate to having more mobility on some of the applications that you're trying to use. For example, I've heard it's really not good to try to type out emails that are going to be any longer than about 3 or 4 sentences because the keyboard is very difficult to work from. Understood. But if you're flipping through content, you're reading, you're watching movies, you're doing some casual web browsing, you're watching the Weekly Ringer. As we saw this week as well. This is these are great reasons to get a touchpad over, say, a 3DS, which clearly can't do any of that yet. We'll see if maybe some underground folks hack the thing and turn it into some kind of other machine that can do a lot of other cool stuff. There's a lot of capability with the 3DS that probably could be made or opened up to the world by the hacking community. And as any of you know that have worked with me here on the Weekly Ringer before, you've listened to some of the contributions I've had before, then you know very well that I am well acquainted to the hacking scene, even though I kind of only go from an academic interest, let's say. Nightcrawler talked about the HP, and this was reiterated many times. Several of you talked about this. The HP price drop seems to be much more of an end-of-product price drop. End of support, end of product, goodbye, it's the end. The 3DS, even as Iwata mentions that, hey, it's our bad, we're going to take the blame for this, we're going to price drop this, we're going to push this forward, they're still firmly dedicated. Reading on through the press release, we're still firmly dedicated to the 3DS as a platform. In other words, it's kind of still the beginning of a platform that has a lot of potential moving forward. So I thought that was a very good insight. I think that's absolutely correct. That could be a reason to get the HP touchpad. Well, I'm just going to go jump in and grab. A lot of people, as was mentioned, the HD DVD